Hi, it's Dr. Parikh. Welcome to Psych of Women. I'm excited to have you here. The last couple times I've taught it, it's been remote or in person, and so I'm excited to be going back to online. Although I love the in-class discussions, I like the accessibility of online. So welcome to the class. The basic structure is still the same, so if you find an old video, it's not going to be too different. But a lot of the assignments have been streamlined and simplified. There's 3 big assignments for the class. One is a character analysis paper where you're taking a character from a book or movie or TV show and discussing themes of gender and women's issues related to that character. The next big assignment is there's a couple building up to a bigger presentation on current events. Particularly with online classes, it's tough to, you have everything kind of set and timed, and so it's tough to be constantly updating with current events. So I create space for current events through this project for students to bring in whatever's in the media and interesting to you. And by current, I mean within the last year or two usually. And then the last big one is your advocacy project. All 3 of those I'm open to you working in groups on. Just talk to me about it ahead of time, because if the group is more than about 3 people, we might want to adjust the project a little bit to make sense for that many people. But I'm very open to group work because in some ways it simplifies, in some ways it does, it changes the project. And so I think it's still a good bit of, it's still a fair amount of work, even if you're splitting the actual paper or project among a few people. And I think there's a lot to be learned from working with other people as well. So those are the 3 projects. I've tried to streamline them a bit. If you're ever not sure whether a video you're watching is current, I think I might have my blue glasses already for most of these videos. That was one way at some point. But the best way to tell is if I have long or short hair. If I have long hair in it, it's prior to fall 2022. So that's the best way to know if something's up to date. If anything's ever unclear, Blackboard is always kind of the highest source. So if there's ever a discrepancy, I will check what was in Blackboard, and that's what I will go by. But if you're ever not sure, just email me, reach out. I recently moved into the Psych Suite. Before I was over in Viseglia. So my office is in the Psych Suite now. Feel free to come for office hours. I encourage you to use appointments because sometimes my hours shift a little, and that way I just also, you don't have to wait around while someone else is in with a big issue that takes an hour. But I would love to chat with some of you in person. I'm really excited. I also want to encourage you, there tends to be a lot of things that are personal or that you feel really strong about shared in this course, and that is fabulous, and I love it. Always keep in mind, anything you tell me in an assignment, so like your autobiography, which is not a major assignment, it's kind of just a light little reflection. Anything that goes directly to me, I consider to be private and personal. Not secret per se, but private. Whereas if something's shared with the class, the expectation is that people will generally respect privacy, but I can't control what happens to things told to other people in class. So that's one piece, is to always take some time to think about how much you want to share. And it's really your choice, and your choice might be different at different times and for different issues. The other thing to keep in mind is that we are going to have people from a variety of life experiences and perspectives, and we want to make sure that everyone feels welcome and included in this space. So that means leaving room for people to be different from you politically, in terms of gender expression and identity, sexually, racially, ability level, religiously. Be you, bring you to this course, and also be aware that you want to leave room for everyone else to be themselves. If you're talking about an issue, just assume that someone who's going to read this, including me, either has experienced it themselves or loves somebody who does experience it. The first week has a whole post about ground rules, so I'll leave you all to sort out what more specific kinds of guidelines you want. But again, keep in mind things said to me are private, but not secret, which means if I have concerns about your safety or someone else's safety, I might reach out to you and talk about it. But I'm not going to talk to other class members or things like that about it. Things said in discussion boards, we should all treat with respect of privacy, but I can't promise you anything. And 3 is always assume that somebody reading the words you're writing. The nice thing about online is you get to think about what you write. And so just take time to think. If someone who had an opposite view of you, or who had a loved one affected by whatever you're talking about, poverty, homelessness, drug addiction, suicidal thoughts, suicide attempts, people who have died by suicide, how would that person feel reading your words? I think that's a really good baseline in any class or situation, but especially being psychology and being psychology of women and the amount of intersectionality we'll talk about. And if you've never heard that word, don't worry, we talked about it a lot in Module 1. Sensitive things come up, and we want to make sure that there's space for everybody, including people who don't agree with me on issues. I just thought of something else, and then it went away. From some of the original lectures and things, so over time, sometimes videos go away or get taken down or something happens. Sometimes I've put up replacements. Sometimes I have just said, this isn't that important. I can't find a good replacement. We'll just drop it. I'm very careful with online courses. I'm usually right at kind of the top end of what's the time that you're expected to put in. So I'm very careful about adding more. The things that I've added so far, I may take away the lecture slide, but I'm not fancy enough to take out those specific lecture minutes. But if you notice that there's lecture for something that's no longer on your list, you can skip forward a few minutes until you get to the next thing. And if anybody sends me timestamps, I'm happy to put them in to make it easier to do chapters. But I don't think there's anything I added that I thought I needed to add lecture about, because it was usually pretty similar to other topics. So there's that. I think that's all I need to cover in this intro video. The module overviews should be pretty close to current. If they're not and you're confused, you can always email me. The module to-do list is your friend. It will always tell you what's due. Also the calendar and Blackboard, and I'll show you both of those in the Module 1 overview. All right, take care. I'm excited to have you here. Bye-bye.